Alright, so he is just gonna lay up on you, and he'll wanna snuggle. They like to be petted, not patted. They like to be petted slow down the backside, not front side.
Oh, I thought you were saying it's like me. Yeah, look at that like John. We've enjoyed Flash up
Get
there.
him some snacks. Yeah, Flash is a pretty cool guy. He, as long as nobody bangs the glass, he's very interactive.
And then we got tickled at the 4-year-old said, I'm gonna go over there and look at that big raccoon. Well, it's not a big raccoon, but you go look at it. Hi, sweetie. Hi. You hear that?
Schnacky schnack. Sloths only go to the bathroom once a week, and last night was his night to go to the bathroom, so he's gonna be ravenous today.
Well, there you go.
Alright, so you asked me about the Highland cows. If I was raising cattle for money, I'd be raising miniature Highland cows. Because, if you had 10 of them, you're going to get 10 calves a year. And if the females sell higher than the males, but male goes, when you sell them as bottle babies, male goes 2, 3, 4,000, females go between 5, 6, 7, 8,000. If you can get some color on them, they sell for more than they do if they're not colored, and they are super easy. They don't eat much. You can leave them out in the yard. There's no such thing as too cold for a Highland cow. There's no such thing as too much rain or too much ice for a Highland cow. They're essentially indestructible, and it is just all the rage. I think that Hobby Lobby is doing me huge favors putting pictures of Highland cows on everything they sell.
Yeah.
Well, do they have a market or a special sale for them, or?
Cookeville sells them. Oh, W Livestock. Yeah, and or you can post them for sale.
I know we've got a neighbor around the road. He's got some.
Maybe not the miniatures.
No, his is not the miniature.
No, I always call them the yaks.
The standards, are like any other cow, just about.
Well, like I said, we're getting older, and
people
getting
want-
cattle up to sale is a bigger ordeal. And of course, the boys are getting older, but you gotta find a weekend they can come, and
Yeah.
And of course, we get them to come just to give them the experience too.
The minis people will buy that aren't cow people, because it's not a big, huge animal with horns that they're worried is going to take them down. And that is probably the closest I ever came to getting taken out by an animal was, well, I don't know, I've had some close calls, but I went to dip the umbilical cord on a newborn, full-size Highland cow, with a boom, and oh my gosh. And it was kind of funny, kind of not. I told Tatum that her job was to stand there and make a video, in case anything interesting happened. And I got close to the cow to do the dip, and the mom came running at me. And she's got a big, massive rack of horns. And I'm running backwards and punching with both hands and, just trying anything to get away from this cow that's about to drive me to China. And I finally get away from it, and I turn to Tatum, I'm like, "Did you get that?" And she's like, "No, I was too worried about you." I'm like, "You had one job. One job. Do you know how many views I would have got on getting killed by a cow?" And
that's what we need to do. We can put something up at the barn. You never know. Well, we had a bull that got mad at Steve. And it wasn't the big bull, it was a young bull. There wasn't anything I could do. I mean, it got a little scary.
I showed you the mount this morning, but I'll show you what he looks like pre-mount. He's a big boy.
Here you go. Let me turn that for you. Now, what are we eating? Coleslaw? Looks like
Rice,
some
dog
rice.
food, and sweet potato.
Sweet
That
potato.
was,
Golly, look at there, Steve.
that's a Longhorn Watusi cross. So the Longhorns, they get the long horns, but if they lose one, they walk around like this, so you cut one off, and then you got a hornless Longhorn, and what's the use? And the Watusis, their horns go out like bug antennas, just straight out, but they're this big around at the base, but they just go straight out. So they cross the Longhorn and Watusi looking to get this. And he had that super attractive horn shape, and my wife bought him up there at Cookeville, and they were walking him around the ring with 2 and 3 adults at a time on him, and they're like, "Anybody want big? Come down here and ride this cow." I think that cow was drugged. he got home, he wasn't
Not at
anything
Triple
like
W.
that.
I know what.
I'm not saying they did it,
No,
but
but-
Up there one
you know.
time at, probably maybe one of the first exotic sales they had in back there, they had the door all covered up, and you could see horn sticking up the door. And I finally looked in, and it was a big Watusi steer.
I was
Yeah,
telling
they
you.
had a saddle and bridle and everything. Said, man, said, you can hunt off him. Said, you can walk right up to the deer on him.
yeah, she was telling me, and he went for like 2.
Yeah,
I
remember
had
he
a
went
similar
to the-
experience that there was a longhorn there that was rideable with a saddle and a bridle and went in that price range. And the only reason I didn't bid is I'm like, how would I load him up? How would I get him home? I mean, his horns
Yeah.
are wider than my trailer. He couldn't get through any of the stall doors in my barn. I don't know what they do with those, but anyhow. Hey, talking about sloths, so since we're here with a sloth,
Since I'm with the baby.
have you guys already done any sloth encounters here this weekend?
We haven't.
Okay.
We let the kids do some, you know. So
Alright, so
is
this is a 2-fingered sloth. Alive in the world today, there are 2-fingered and 3-fingered sloths. Taxonomically, they are still called 2-toed and 3-toed, but the 2-fingered, 3-fingered makes more sense. Because all sloths have 3 fingers on the back feet. 2-toed, 2-fingered have 2 on the front. 3-fingered have 3 on the front. But there are significant other differences between a 2-fingered and a 3-fingered sloth. So looking at them from a skeleton picture is going to make a little more sense as I tell you the differences between them. The 2-fingered sloth is a heavier built animal. He's more like a truck. The 3-fingered is more like a sports car. But he's a sports car at Barrett Jackson that they're going to push it across the stage because he ain't going anywhere fast. The 2-fingered are slightly quicker than 3, but together they are the world's slowest mammals.
Now Flash upstairs, he's 2.
They're all 2-fingered
They're all 2.
sloths.
Okay.
Pretty much everyone you see in the continental U.S. is going to be because 3-fingered eat nothing but sarcopia leaves, and sarcopia trees don't grow in the continental U.S.
No food.
So it would be like having to feed a koala. That's why nobody has koalas, is if you have a koala,
I wondered about
all they eat is eucalyptus leaves, and eucalyptus trees don't grow in the continental U.S. So to feed a koala, you basically are looking at the cost of operating a private jet to fly back and forth and get food for your.
not
Alright, so this is a skeleton of a 2-fingered sloth. You can see that his arms are longer than his body, his legs are longer than his arms. He's got only 5 vertebrae in the cervical spine from skull to shoulders. He's got no tail. The 3-fingered sloth is a very different animal. 3-fingered, you can see he's got 9 vertebrae in the cervical spine between skull and shoulders, and he has got a tail. So for the 2-fingered sloth, the 4 missing from the neck and the 3 missing from the tail are all between the hips and shoulders of the 2-fingered sloth. So that's why the 3-fingered sloth will turn his whole head 270 around like an owl with that big long neck. And the 2-fingered, if this is hips and this is shoulders, he can rotate until his hips and shoulders are facing at 180 out from each other. The 2-fingered sloth has a serious rib cage. You see that the 3-fingered is fairly slightly built. The 2-fingered though is built to take it. See all the ribs on that guy? And in addition to the number of ribs, he's got connective tissue that goes all back and forth between his ribs and all of his organs. So for us as people, our organs are just sitting in our pelvis and upper bounded by our diaphragm. And as we move around, you know, our stuff is just kind of sloshy in there. And but the sloth has connective tissue all between all of that. So whether he's hanging vertically upside down or horizontally upside down, or hanging in a tree like this, or laying on his back belly or side, which you probably saw every one of those positions this week, his organs will remain position and orientation exactly where they should be because he's got all of this connective tissue going all back and forth. Also, all the ribs, all the connective tissue make the sloth basically fall proof. A sloth can fall from 100 feet and go, oh, nuts. Now I have to climb all the way back up. But, and that's really a good thing for him. So sloths are slow. Everyone knows that sloths are slow, but sloths are likely slow in ways that hasn't occurred to you they even could be slow. So they're slow not only in their movement, they're slow in their digestion, metabolism, metabolic processes. They are slow in every single way that an animal can be slow. Slow in their digestion, they eat a tremendous amount of food. 10% of their body mass every single day, and yet they are going to go to the bathroom only once in 7 to 10 days. When they do eventually go to the bathroom, they are going to eliminate 1/3 of their full body mass when they go to the bathroom. That's between solid and liquid, separately but at the same time, but literally 1/3 of their total body mass when they go to the bathroom. So putting those numbers to human standards, I weigh 200 pounds, so if I was going to eat 10% of my body mass every single day, that would be me eating 20 pounds of food every day. So we're rolling into Outback and saying, bring me 20 of the 16-ounce porterhouse steaks, or hitting the Golden Arches and saying, bring me 80 of the quarter pounders, because that's what I'm going to eat today.
You put that.
Obviously that wouldn't work.
Oh. Wait, did you put that baby to sleep?
He's wide awake, his vision is poor, he closes his eyes and he focuses in on his senses that are working well for him, which is his hearing, smell, and touch. So he doesn't see well at all though. So then if I was going to eliminate 1/3 of my total body mass from 200 pounds when I went to the bathroom, we're talking a bag of dog food in a 5-gallon bucket in 2 or 3 minutes. So give that a shudder and move on to another topic. But the sloth, that's the way a sloth rolls. When the sloth is in the top of the tree, he is safe. The snake cannot find a sloth. The reason that a snake cannot find a sloth is because snakes hunt by smell and by temperature. The sloth's core body temperature follows the outside air temperature. That's another way that he is slow, is maintaining his body temperature is a form of energy expenditure, and that is why a sloth is so slow, as their energy budget is practically negligible. The sloth, even though he is eating 10% of his body mass every single day, what he's eating is leaves. Leaves have very little nutritional value, very low caloric content, so he's working on an energy budget of only a few hundred calories a day. So he hasn't got energy to do things like keep himself warm. When he's up there in the rainforest, the daytime high in the rainforest is mid to upper 80s, nighttime low can be into the high 60s. His core body temperature can change by 19 degrees Fahrenheit from day to night. Now, again, human perspective, if my core body temperature went down 19 degrees from 98.6, that is 79.6. That obviously would not be good for me. But, so given that his core body temperature is whatever the outside air temperature is, a snake cannot find him by temperature sensation. Also, he cannot find him by smell. The sloth has no scent gland, musk gland, sweat gland, none of that. So there is no natural scent to a sloth. So it is not possible for a snake to find a sloth except by blind, dumb luck. When the sloth is in the tops of the trees, I've mentioned that his vision is poor, but it's more purpose-built than poor. So what his purpose of his vision is to detect motion. The structure of his eyes is rod monochromacy, meaning he has all rod cells, no cone cells. So he sees motion very, very well, but he sees shapes very poorly. He can't see the difference between me and either one of you, but he knows what I sound like and he knows what I smell like. But vision-wise, what their eyes are good for, if you've seen one of the movies where the military guys have the night vision goggles on and they just see shapes and blobs moving around out in front of them, but they don't so much see the actual object, that's the way a sloth's vision works, is it's seeing motion well, shapes poorly. So rod monochromacy means all rod cells, no cone cells, no color vision ever, and not good detection of actual shapes, just seeing motion. So when he sees something coming toward him, he's hanging in the branches, and his instinct is, end of the branch, get to the end of the branch, and then whang, the branch is going to hang down under him. And a cat that's trying to come to him It's coming along the top of the branch like so, and when he gets to the end, you know, what's he gonna do? He can't get down there. And a cat large enough to threaten this sloth is gonna be more like 40 pounds, he's more like 15. Well, he currently is 6, the full-size one is 15. But, so the branch won't support the cat that will support the sloth. If the cat should press the issue to the point that the branch breaks and the whole mess falls 100 feet all the way to the rainforest floor, the sloth will almost certainly survive and the cat will almost certainly not. And the sloth will look over the cat and say, ha, ha, and back up the tree he goes. So no harm to the sloth, but the cat will not be returning to the canopy of the rainforest. So even the one animal that can get to the sloth at the top of the tree is the harpy eagle.
I was gonna say, what are predators then, so that an eagle?
Yep, the eagle doesn't rely on scent, doesn't rely on smell, doesn't rely on the weight of the branch to hold him, doesn't rely on temperature. So a harpy eagle can get to a sloth, but the sloth benefits from the camouflage of the moss and algae that helps him to stay safe from that. So even though the sloth is safe in the top of the tree, yet he comes all the way down the tree, same side of the tree every single time, to go to the bathroom in the exact same place that he always goes, which makes very little sense given that he's safe in the top, risking his life coming down. So when he comes down the tree, the reason that he does that is the sloth-moth symbiotic relationship. In the wild, sloths need moths and moths need sloths. It is a symbiotic relationship, meaning beneficial to both sides, where parasitic would be beneficial to one, neutral or harmful to the other, but they both benefit. There is a type of moth in the world called a sloth-moth that lives nowhere in, there's actually 3 of them that are all sloth moths. They live nowhere in the world except in the fur and in the waste pile of a sloth. And if you were an evolutionist, you would have a desperately hard time describing how an insect evolved up this chain and a mammal evolved up that chain, and now the 2 of them are inextricably locked and one cannot move forward without the other. That would be a hard thing to explain away. But anyway, the benefit to the moth is that the sloth is the food source and the living environment of the moth. The sloths will have 100 to 150 moths crawling all over them all of the time in the rainforest, not here, praise the Lord. Yeah, we want to hold that. They're about so big. And
so kind of, do they remind you like of, I mean, not a, I'm thinking of moth with a big wing, but you know, like a...
No, like the kind you might get in cornmeal if it's sat out for a long time.
Yeah, that's what you're
similar
more of a
in
sleek,
size.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not excellent flyers, they mainly just crawl around. So the moth, the benefit to the moth is that the moth will live in the sloth's fur for all of its life. The only 2 reasons it leaves the sloth, are to get into the waste pile. When the sloth comes down, the moth gets into the waste pile and lays their eggs. They do it as fast as they can because he's only going to be down for 2 or 3 minutes. They need to get back to the sloth so they don't miss the ride 100 feet back to the canopy. Second reason is to drink water that pools up in the leaves up in the canopy of the rainforest because there's no water source in the sloth. So when he comes all the way down the tree, same side of the tree, and goes to his own waste pile, no one else's waste pile, the moths jump down, they lay their eggs in the waste. This week's eggs are next week's larvae or the following week's moths. And every time that he comes down the tree, there's a new step in that process. So every time he comes down, there are new moths to fly up onto the sloth and live their whole life on the sloth. The benefit to the sloth was a little harder for scientists to figure out. Their first idea was that a sloth comes all the way down the tree and risks his life because he's a neat animal. No, he's not the Adrian Monk of the rainforest. He's not risking his life because he's a neat animal. The second one that really boggles the mind, how anybody ever thought this, but it went on for maybe a decade or so, was that the sloth is fertilizing his own tree via his waste. Again, nonsense. If he's anywhere in the canopy of the tree and he lets it rip, it's going to fall above the root system of the tree. No net effect. So the actual reason why he comes down the tree is in fact the moths. So when he comes down the tree, the moths fly up onto him. They live their whole life on the sloth. The benefit to the sloth is at least threefold. First, the sloths are fertilizing the moss and algae that are all in the sloth's fur. If you've seen a picture of one in the wild, they're nasty looking. They're all brown and green and whatever, but that hides them from the eagles. Second, as the sloth grooms himself, he licks up a certain amount of the moths themselves. That is the protein source for the sloth. Third, as the sloth grooms himself, he licks up a certain amount of the waste of the moths. And the waste of the moths are the key to the game for the sloth. The waste of the moths is where the sloth gets the bacteria colony that causes him to digest his food. Now, we also have helpful gut bacteria. Our gut bacteria will last throughout our life unless we take a lot of antibiotics. If we take a lot of antibiotics, we're going to need probiotics or Greek yogurt to fix our gut health back up. Well, these are rainforest animals. They don't have GNC and they've never heard of Publix. So they're getting no live culture probiotics. They're getting no Greek yogurt. So the source of his gut bacteria is the waste of the moths. It is a proven fact that if the sloth's moth colony fails to thrive, the sloth also will fail to thrive. The sloth, in fact, would pass from starvation a month later. Even though his stomach is entirely full of food, he would not be able to digest the food. And let's help you hold the sloth. Now his hands, the latch down is his natural relaxed state, so he has to remember to let go.
Sweet boy.
There we go. The sloth, when he, so here he does not need the moths. That is because here nothing is after him to eat him, so he doesn't need the disguise of the moss and algae. Second, he doesn't need the protein. We have other protein sources for our sloths. And third, he does not need his gut bacteria replaced. Now for us, what interrupts our gut health is antibiotics. For him, you may have detected it's darn hot in here. For him, what messes up his gut health is cold temperature. So in the rainforest, when he gets all the way down into the 60s some nights of the year, that's going to interrupt his gut health, and he'll need to replenish his gut bacteria from that. I just caught a glimpse of that Pulsar watch. That takes me back. You've had that one in a minute, haven't you?
I've tried new watches. And
They don't make them like that
but
anymore.
we end up.
That thing will last forever, right?
You're right. It won't die. I
Yeah,
tried
yeah.
it.
I had that exact watch, I think, at one point.
Well,
And
but you
actually,
know
I
how
know
to do
exactly
it.
what happened to it. I washed my hands in a bathroom in a beach bathroom at Clearwater Beach in Florida. And I laid my watch on the thing up there above the sink. And there it remained. And when I went back, it was gone. But I love that watch. I felt super modern back
Well,
when those were the new thing.
If I had known that, I would have left it in that camel condo.
I don't wear.
I give him the nicest watch. I'll get him something nice, and I say, "Here, you can wear it." No,
I don't
no
wear
matter where
watches
we go.
anymore, and I have some dress watches, but by the time I go to put one on, the battery is dead. You know, most of them these days are the
you
self-winding,
can't kill that one.
and yeah, you can't.
You
Man,
can't kill that one.
that is so cool.
You can't.
I really like
I
that.
got tickled at Brandon this
I know it's not like something a lot of people would comment on, but I'm like, that
No,
takes
you
me
can't.
back, man. All right,
Listen
so
to
now I've lost my train of thought.
Look at
I am so easily distracted. It's ridiculous. So squirrel. Yeah. All right. So
You know that voice,
let me
don't
think.
you?
What was I saying?
Oh,
The
camera right there. You don't care to make a picture. So I'll need proof where I was today.
Well, I don't,
If
you
you're
know,
like, I'll do
you
it.
don't need a passcode to open the phone. I mean to open the camera.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. So here, yeah, what I was saying is that we don't ever let a sloth get cold, and if the sloth never ever gets cold, his gut bacteria will last throughout his life. It is cold temperature that messes up his gut health. And so that is why it is always a minimum of 78 degrees in here. Today looks like we got 81. We don't leave it the exact same temperature every day of the year. But,
well, what was you guys draw to the sloths? I mean,
well, you'll have a hard time believing this, but I was on a cruise and I went to a sloth encounter in a foreign country. and I thought it was great and wonderful and lovely and nice pictures and great experience. And I was absolutely horrified a year later when I found out that those sloths have an average lifespan of 1 month. Because they take them out of the rainforest, dunk them in bleach, pull their teeth out and throw them in the encounter. And, you know, their opinion on that is you eat beef, where do you think it came from? And my opinion on that is this isn't a cow. And so anyway, I wanted there to be an ethical and appropriate place where people can interact with sloths. That's why our sloths, as you saw from trying to sign up for it, our sloths only do 2 hours of encounters a day, 2 people at a time, that's it. And we feel like, you know, that by, and our sloths come to us from a breeder who breeds them for ambassador animal purposes. So he's got 2 purposes to his business. One, he views himself as a sloth seed bank, that in the same way that eventually rhinos would not have existed anymore had there not been captive rhinos, he has a very large population of sloths that would be a replacement if they ceased to be in the wild. And 2, his sloths are raised from birth to be held by people like this. And this is the difference between a house cat and a feral cat. If you were holding your house cat in your lap and you're petting it, it will purr and snuggle while you pet it. You take a feral cat out of the woods and try to hold that dude and see how it goes. And so our sloths are very, very different than other sloths, and I genuinely just wanted there to be an ethical and appropriate place for people to interact with sloths.
Somebody to come see big raccoons.
If you've looked at other sloth encounters, you probably have noticed that we're, you know, a quarter or a third of the price of other places. And some people think that it's going to be a lesser encounter here because it costs so much less. But the actual reason for that is I was enlisted my first 10 years in the military and couldn't afford to take my family to do cool things. And now that I'm sort of a little bit on the other side of that, I want this to be accessible to normal human beings. I don't want it to be that somebody stands there with a stopwatch while you hold a sloth on a pillow that you're not supposed to touch, and they charge you $500 for that.
There's been nothing rushed about the weekend with the kids or.
Well, we just genuinely want it to be accessible to normal human beings.
And this is so, I see now why Ocoee, he literally came back so much chill. The 8-year-old, the little short blonde, and he did the sloth snuggles Saturday.
Well, we just won statewide the Small Business of the Year for the Tennessee Hospitality and Tourism Industry. And the State Department of Tourism came down and they walked through the condo up there. And they told me my mistake is I should be priced at $2,000 a night because people that are looking for more won't look at less. And they said if I would change the pricing to triple the amount, that it would be booked forever. And I'm like, that's not why we're here. It's, you know, no.
You can feel that in it.
But if you were going to sleep 10 people at Motel 6, it would cost you every bit of what you're paying here
So I will.
to stay somewhere cool.
No, I don't want you to raise your prices, but normally we take the 3 boys to Legoland. So we stay 3 nights at Legoland, of course includes tickets and whatnot. I was able to bring all of them.
Yeah.
For about the same price. It was very similar, a little bit more. We did, you know, several encounters, but you know, but I had all of them. And my children, not just the grandchildren. I had my 2 children here, so.
Well, we genuinely want it to be accessible to just normal people. And I mean, yes, there are people who can't afford this, and I have events for those too.
I was telling Steve at lunch about that y'all do the Holy Ghost wiener roast, is that what
Yeah.
And open to the locals.
Yeah.
I love small businesses, and when Donna had emailed that y'all had gotten that award, I said, you know, I've been around small businesses for so many years. It takes everything you've got just to make a decent business. It takes to win something like that. I know you guys are.
We work phenomenal hours, but I like what I do. And my primary goal in life is to glorify Jesus Christ. And I get the opportunity to do that here a lot. And there are a lot of people who will talk to me about the Lord who would never darken the door of my church. And you know, a lot of people, it's because they've already been. They've failed to experience love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, meekness, temperance, self-control. And if we don't demonstrate the fruit of the Spirit, what have we got that anyone else hasn't got that would make them say, you know, that person's got something I wish I had. So, you know, anyway.
It does. It's been a really, in the little one, when they left a little while ago, the 8-year-old, who, Ocoee is just, he's got big feelings, but it's always kind of, since his mom's been gone, a little bit towards anger side. I think Ocoee gets real upset easy. You know, he looked at me and said, Baba, thank you. this was a good trip, can we come back? So you know you've touched hearts, and that's
That's a good thing.
it is. I mean, it really is, and was one reason I booked us right here on the end, so we could decompress
Yeah,
and just kind of experience what they have now.
yeah, I've been the patriarch of herding cats many times,
Ah,
and it can be not as relaxing
You
as
know.
many have hoped, but you can get home and decompress and think about what memories you made. Right?
Accountant's work is never done. So if I'm finished today, somebody will open their business up tomorrow, and I gotta go back and do it again. But, yeah, no, the condo was just, I mean, we've stayed a lot of places. And I end up hauling pans and muffin tins and everything, because whatever I'm gonna cook, I just count that they don't have.
Mhm.
There was nothing done, it has not stocked. It was the best stocked place we've ever stayed.
Yeah, I don't really like the 4 cups, 4 plates, 4 spoons kind of places.
So, no, and there's a lot to do. We sleep 10, but you can feed 3, you
Yeah.
know, and it's just, so my car is always loaded down, but, you know, this is,
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
we did, I'd really like to.
I was telling the guy yesterday about it.
Yeah, when we picked up the hitchhiker yesterday, he asked, you know, where we were from, and we told him what we were doing, and he goes, where is that? I said, do you have children? He goes, I have 3, so we laid it on thick.
Oh,
He
yeah.
said,
I'm gonna
Murphy's
check that out.
He said, I'm gonna die. You know that voice, every time, yes.
He does. This guy still sleeps in the house. He has his daytime
You
environment
spoiled
down here,
baby.
but he sleeps in our room at night.
You spoiled baby. John, you've done so many different things. What have you enjoyed the most? Is this the best season for you?
No, if I could be in flight school for the rest of my life, I mean, that was pretty awesome, getting paid every day to play with millions of dollars of toys, and at the time I thought I was Tom Cruise, you know, driving a
what did you
Corvette and
want?
riding a motorcycle, and I lived in Pensacola,
Oh, yeah.
and while I lived in Gulf Breeze, down from Pensacola, and my kids were little, and we lived on the water, and when you stepped in off the seawall, it was waist deep, and when you went out half a mile, it was chest deep on the sound side of the Pensacola Bay.
I'm a mountain
And,
girl, but I'll go to the beach.
I despise the beach, but I like the water. I like the beach in Hawaii. I don't like the beach in any other places.
His sister, they're fixing to do another trip. They
Yeah,
call
they've
it-
been a
like
couple of times. They're going this time for like 2 weeks, I think.
Where are they going?
I don't know where.
They're gonna stay about 3 weeks this time, so I imagine they'll do more than several islands, I guess.
I always
Go
tell
home
people
some.
if you went to Oahu, all you've seen is Chicago, you go by there. You gotta go
Get up
to,
to the littles.
you gotta go to the Big Island in Kauai to
Big
actually
Island.
see Hawaii. Waimea Canyon is like the Grand Canyon of the
So
Pacific.
you're not from here then, originally?
Oh no, I've lived in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, North, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, 20 years in Virginia while I was in the Navy. And we moved here in 2019.
Now, how old is Dash?
Just turned a year.
Just turned a year. So how much bigger do you think will he get as big as?
He'll get as big as Flash, yeah, but it'll take him about 3 years.
Now you'll have another, Zoe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
does she do encounters?
Zoe
also?
is right there.
Sweet.
Yep, she does encounters too.
Now this must go to, I see in the morning just open the door.
Yeah, Flash
Okay,
is
it's
up
right
there.
Yeah. Is that Papa?
So other things about a sloth. Sloths are crazy strong. Pound for pound, they're about 3 times as strong as a person. Obviously, they're not as strong as a person overall because they're tiny and we're huge. But pound for pound, they're 3 times as strong as a person. They can do a 1-arm pull-up by any of their forearms and then hang there for a long time. And they can hang for days. And the reason for that is because for us to do a 2-arm hang in a branch, you know, this is our stress or exertion state. This is relaxed. Sloth is the opposite. He's got tremendously tight tendons in his hand and forearm here. So pop, clamp down like that, that is his natural relaxed state. If the sloth's life ended while hanging in a tree, he wouldn't fall. He would continue to hang there until something knocked him out of the tree.
We were watching Flash, I guess it was this morning, and it's almost mechanical. He'd take and hang on, whip his other, hang on. You are precious. I never in a million years thought about holding a sloth. We had some cool adventures. Now, did you flew in the Navy then, right? Or just-
Backseat. Backseat.
Backseat.
Flying kids in the back.
Yeah, that's-
E2C Hawkeyes, big ugly thing with a radar dish on top.
well, that's- So the kid's dad, like I said, he flew B-52, so yeah, it was a large crew.
And
And,
they have one flying fortress in Virginia Beach. Guy that owns the company that does all the training for aircraft mechanics. He has a very large collection of airplanes, which I think he actually sold now. I don't remember. But he had one of the last B-52 flying fortresses in the world. And I was supposed to go up in it with Vladik and Dima. He was going to take us up. And we got there, and my two little boys from Ukraine were scared to death and wouldn't get on the plane. It was like, oh, well, we'll do it. And I never got to fly it.
so I was, there's some kind of neat things when you're our age, is that there weren't things like HIPAA, and people didn't restrict as much. So I grew up with a dad that was a Methodist, so I've been in the OR more times than you'd count, because he really wanted one of us to go in medicine, and I'm gonna count on my brother's an engineer, so that didn't work. Like I said, when my ex of the marriage, we got to do the refueling. So as wives, we all got to get on the 135, and
wow.
somebody said, be sure and take a skateboard, and because it's just hauled out. They could take a frisbee, take a skateboard. We had the best time. And then in the refueling, there were, of course, the refueler in the middle, and then there were two on each side. So we all just piled on top of each other, and
That's cool.
it was really, it was neat. He went to be an instructor on his last tour, and we got to do. They used to get to do once around the loop in a T-37, so we just got to run up to take off speed and pull back, but just kind of neat stuff that
Yeah.
people will never experience again,
Flying T-34s around Pensacola was just the best time of my life. Those little airplanes will go 350 knots level. They'll go faster if you dive. And you can pull 8.5 Gs every day. If you pull 9 Gs, you have to tattletale the airplane. And on both sides, there's these two big, huge bolts. Those are called the Jesus bolts, because if they break, you're going to see Jesus. And those go at 10 Gs. And the Navy has command by negation. The Air Force has command. So the Air Force, it means you're allowed to do anything they told you to do. The Navy means you're allowed to do anything they didn't specifically tell you not to do. And so for the Navy, the negations are: you can't intentionally spin with the gear down, they might break off.
True.
You can't intentionally spin with the flaps down, they might break off. You can't intentionally enter uncontrolled flight at less than 500 feet off the ground.
Unless
You're
you don't know
supposed
where
to-
you are and you gotta go read the water tank.
Oh.
Now, if you get lost, that's what they used to say, well, we've got to go read the water tank so we know where we are.
Yeah. Well, that's still controlled flight, though. Means you're not supposed to start to spin when you're 500 feet off the ground.
No, it would not be
They
good.
like you to use the minute to live rule, that you're high enough up that at your rate of descent, you would have a minute to figure things out. And beyond that, do anything you want
What
to.
did you wanna do? Yeah.
And when you go to a commercial airport, you can land just like all the big guys land. And you come in and you put on your best radio voice and you're like, land tower, Buck 406, all airspace 2 minutes. And then you put on your little private air show and then plant it into the runway and tow this thing.
So that's what you would do. This is a good season, that looks like.
Yeah. I'm too old to zorch around the skies like that anymore.
You think you'd pass out at 4 Gs now?
Hard to tell. I mean, my core, after chemo and all the surgeries,
Yeah.
my core strength isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
And when just to push all the blood up into your brain, I don't know how hard I'd be on the hook anymore.
Yeah.
What is he doing?
Back in the day, man, I was living the life of Riley. I can't say on the live what the drive to work was like. I don't know. Can you say?
Sure.
I had a Hayabusa, and I could get 175 before the first bump in the 3 Mile Bridge and 200 before the second one every single day, and still have it load up in time to be at the end of the bridge.
Lord, this sounds like y'all's riding around days.
Oh, yeah. My Corvette was a 95 C5 that I bought it from a guy who had it in a black and white checkerboard garage. And he sprayed it with cooking oil anytime he towed it to a show, and all he did is tow it around and show it. And he sold it to me, and I drove that thing like I stole it for 3 years and then sold it for more than I paid for it. But it was fun. But when I had chemo, I had to get rid of all of them because I couldn't feel my feet. And you know, the pedals in a Corvette are really close together. And I probably could ride a motorcycle if I rode like normal human beings would ride one, but I found quickly that I'm just not capable of restraint.
And when you put the throttle on, it's all throttle. My dad had a Corvette, and when I was in high school, of course, every time we could, we try to sneak it out, and then we learned we had to, of course, you didn't have cell phones and all back then to make a picture. We had to just draw out how the tires were. So we backed it back in the garage, it'd be in the right place or whatever. I think Tony and I got caught a lot. But that was fun. Well, you are a sweet baby. And
I grew up in extreme poverty. We were happy to have a bicycle.
You know, I did too, as far as, but I never realized it until I was older. And we lived in the projects when I was little, and, you know, like I said, my parents worked their way up and did really well in life. But I mean, they were 20 when they had me, and one went to college while the other one didn't, and they kept back and forth. But I was a grown adult, and it hit me one day. I could remember as a child, my mother sitting on the bed and telling us there was no Easter Bunny. Well, we weren't mean as snakes anyway, so I thought it was probably something we did, is why the Easter Bunny wasn't coming to see us. I called my mother and I said, Mother, we were poor. She goes, you didn't know that? I said, no, I didn't know that. They just never.
Well, the majority of the people was poor.
Well, Steve talks about they didn't have indoor plumbing till you still in high
Maybe
school.
6 of us lived in a 2-bedroom house, you know, no running water, and you know, but you didn't know it.
Probably not any less happier than
Oh,
kids are
no.
now.
We never go
Raised
anywhere.
everything you ate, you know.
Yeah.
The
His
only
mother
time you
used
went
to
to the grocery
make
store was to go get staples, you know.
your mother making that butter in that old washing machine.
Sure did. My father, he joined what they call the NFO. It was kind of a unionized farmers organization, and they went on strike one year, wanted to raise the price of milk. And my mother, she used an old Ringer washing machine for years. And her and her neighbor, they got the bright idea. They brought that old washing machine out and rinsed it, scalded it out good with good hot water, and filled that thing full of milk and churned butter in it.
You know, there's something about not growing up with everything though that I think makes us different adults than most people.
I tell people now, I said, we've lived the best of times.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Well, darling, you're bound to be getting sore. As much as I would hold you all day long, but I'm gonna let John take you.
Well, John, y'all done amazing things here. It looks like you've got amazing things coming, you know.
Lord blesses us and we work hard at it.
It's really been neat. I've enjoyed it.
I'm glad.
I'd like to come back. I think my parents would enjoy it. I said, and you know, we kind of look far enough out where we can get a couple of the wagons and the condo and still be able to cook for everybody, but and everybody be together, but be able to sleep more. I think my parents are both 82 this year and still very active. I thought my dad might come, but I was gonna see if we could book the room over the barn for Steve and I, but he had a pacemaker put in last month and just leery about going off away. Yeah, so that's been my dad's always been Superman, and I think this has really kind of gotten to him that he can't do everything he wants to do. So. Do y'all have a lot of older people come or make much?
Yes.
Do you?
I had a senior group out here a while back that I think all but one of them rode a camel. They just had a hip replacement, so they didn't ride, but the rest of them all rode camels, and the reason that the pavilion is out there is to service our disabled and elderly community better, so that people that can't walk around the farm will bring a farm tour to them at the pavilion.
Oh, nice.
And, yeah, that actually,
You do have an older crowd there.
the, Tennessee Valley Federal Credit Union has an Idea Elite contest once a year, and we won it 2 years ago, and they gave us enough money to build that pavilion out there to serve our underserved community.
So with you
And,
being in a depressed area, I guess, can you get some grant money and things like that because of
No.
tourism? There's nothing.
I feel like when somebody gives me money, I'm beholden to them in some degree, and I don't need anybody to tell me how to do really anything.
Well, it's kind of
But
like
the Lord provides for all my
COVID money.
needs according to His riches. I never took any COVID money.
You know, with my clients, this is where I got to with it. They are gonna give it away. And if I can get it into my community, I'm getting it into my community. And my clients were all very responsible with their COVID money. They continued, especially the restaurant. I got them a lot of money because of the restaurant revitalization program and all. But they kept their employees paid all through COVID, even when they were shut down. They used it how they should. I know
Yeah.
a lot of people abused it.
My
But-
employees all get paid, or got paid, but
Mhm.
I thought there was something coming on the back end of that, and I
It
was
ended
afraid.
up, the PPP was fine, but the EDIL, which was the low interest loan, that's been a scam because they did a 3-year deferment, but the juice was running. So
Yeah.
now your minimum payments don't even pay the interest, so that one was not good.
Yeah,
Well, I
really-
didn't think it was, I thought I was gonna end poorly for people, I really did.
I'm surprised the PPP turned out okay.
I really thought that the whole thing was designed for hyperinflation,
Now,
because, you know, if you look at many countries, I should turn this off before I say anything more.
Oh.
But,
are we on?
yeah, we are.
My clients are going, what?
I don't talk politics on the laugh.
No, we're not talking politics on the line. We'll talk Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and sloths.
Well, let me change the subject. and
Way
say,
better.
Are your zebras, are they halter broke?
No, they are not, but the one should have a baby tonight, I hope.
He checked her and she's back
And
up.
she's all bagged up. I've been waiting for that for 2 weeks.
Yesterday, it one looked like pretty heavy and fold.
Yeah, she is. And I've been thinking every day for the last 2 weeks I was gonna have a baby, because when I Googled it, the zebras don't always bag up. You can see the milk veins running from her armpits all the way up for the last 2 weeks. I've been thinking any day it was gonna happen. But this morning her udders are big and full. And I'm like,
It's time in.
it's gotta be within a day or two that we're gonna have a baby zebra run around out here, and the babies will be friendly till they reach maturity, so that's, 12 to 16 months.
Go ahead.
So we'll have,
Some friends.
it'll stay with mom for at least, a few days to get colostrum, and then it will be a halter bottle baby.
We call
Yeah, absolutely. Hoping for a filly. And the one outside is not her daddy, so that would work out.
it. So did you have her bred or you bought her already
I
bred?
bought her already bred. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I have some more friends?
Yeah, I fully expect tomorrow to be announcing there's a baby zebra on the
I was gonna
on the-
say, now I'll
on the
have
ground.
to stalk your TikTok here to watch
Yeah.
for the. Do you have a Facebook page also?
Yeah, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I think we have all of them. Kevin is the social media guy.
He does good.
Whenever we talk about electronics, he says I feel more like his father than his buddy. But he's
I was telling her yesterday, I know a guy in Kentucky, he's a horse trainer, and he had posted here a while back that they had bought a zebra, and he posted a couple of days later, showed his arm where he took a big hunk out of his baby.
zebras the adults can be the pit bulls of the equine family.
Yeah, they're
And by that I mean a pit bull isn't necessarily going to bite you, but if it does, it's going to hang on and look to inflict serious damage. And other dogs will bite you and run away. Similarly, a horse will bite you and run away, a zebra will bite you and hang on.
Now, there's the old expression, camel bites. Are camels biters?
I
Nice.
don't know.
Yours don't.
Mine don't.
It's just an old expression. People grab the back of your leg and say, camel bites.
I always heard snake bite.
I'll pass on that.
Well, guys, I got to get to my next
We
encounter.
are.
We got to go, we got to
Yeah,
go.
All
we
right,
gotta
come
go.
on, baby boy.
Oh.
Good boy, Dash.
Well, John, we
what a
can't
good
thank you
boy
enough.
you are.
Well,
Oh,
thank
I'm
you for
glad
your
y'all
time.
came out.
And, We enjoyed it.
Hey guys, if you're watching us on live, thanks for joining us today. If you want to come see us, it's Ocoee, Ocoee Riverside Farm, Benton, Tennessee, near Chattanooga. Talk to y'all later.